Hello, welcome to Price Focus as Nottingham Forest face another test of their Champions League credentials when they host Everton on Saturday. We'll preview the game in full and address excuse me, good timing. The latest transfer rumours in the company of, first of all, Mikey Clarke. Mikey, afternoon, how are you doing?
Yeah, afternoon. Really good. Thanks, Matt. How are you?
Apart from that cough, I'm very well, thank you. Not too bad. I discovered getting older stuff today. We've got loads to pack in. I don't know why I'm talking about this. We're going to run over already. I did go out of the shower, tried to put my socks on, and realised I've got almost no balance at all, like an old pensioner. And then, even more mid-late, got 4 jars of red cabbage in the fridge, 3 of them open.
I didn't see this start coming, to be fair.
No.
I don't know how you got from your shower to red cabbage, but that was skillfully done, Matt.
Well, I shoehorned a red cabbage sandwich in with tuna and sweet chili sauce, which sounds disgusting, but it was actually all right, to be fair.
I haven't seen that one in Marks and Spencer's. Other sandwich shops are available, of course, but no.
They are. They should take that opportunity to get that on the shelves. The voice you hear there is Mark Sutherns. Mark, how are you? You had a big announcement last night.
I'm feeling good. Start a new job next week. Officially retired from FPL content, which is sad, but I'll be working closer to the game, which would be fantastic. Always wanted to do that, so great opportunity. So my life will continue to be FPL, just not producing content, which means more time for this, more time for Forest, which is great.
Exactly. That's the good news for us. We'll have more of Mark, hopefully, in the daytime, which is great. I've also got to thank him. We've got about 150 new Twitter followers, all FPL accounts, last night. So the people can't get enough of Mark Sutherns, but they can find him here, which is good.
They think I'm covertly going to be giving away FPL secrets on here, perhaps, but I can't do that. Sorry.
No, he can't. But good to have anyone who's new with us, and good to have everyone who's in the live chat today with us as well. Do us a favour, hit like. I can see a couple of questions in the chat, and I'll try and shoehorn them in as we go along. We should start, Mikey. Conversations framed by Team News. That's why we're doing this a little bit later. Nuno's done his press. He was asked about the attacking players. I didn't see anything about Ola Aina, but I'm pretty sure he's probably out. But he was asked about Elanga, Wood, and Awoniyi. He gave a pretty non-committal, or they could all be fit, none of them could be fit. So we'll talk about injuries specifically, but with that kind of context in mind, how are you feeling about this game?
Yeah, it was a funny answer, wasn't it? It was like, well, they might be or they might not be. I don't know. I'm probably a little bit hesitant to think any of them will be back. Forest tweeted that photo of the squad, didn't they? And everybody's zooming in, me included, looking at the footwear, looking at the training tops. Have they been training? I'm on the side of, I don't think any of them will play. If they do, it'll probably be Elanga. And we're just going to have to cope like we always have done. That's why the squad's there, and other people need to step up like they are doing. So feeling all right. I'm still feeling positive. We're having an incredible season. We have been really lucky with injuries up until recent weeks. And now we're going to be tested a little bit. So yep, really positive. I went to the away game, the Everton away game. Appreciate that was under different manager, but we were great that game. Thoroughly deserved to win. And a lot of those players who played that game, like a Sosa, for example, might be playing this game. So all is not lost. It's going to be great weather on Saturday. There's a boat thing going on beforehand. So I'm expecting another good day. I think we'll have enough to turn them over regardless of who's fit or not. And onwards and upwards.
What about you, Mark? Do you expect anything to be fit? I don't know if you've seen the clip. I watched it and I got the impression the 2 strikers I would say are out, just by the way Nuno said from the clip on Sky. I'd be a little bit more hopeful about Elanga. If that's the case, say we got Elanga back, how would you feel about it all?
Yeah, and I think we look at our teams later, and I've predicted Elanga in there. I think he's by far the most likely to start out of the 3, unless he's really pulled something out of the bag with Chris Wood and kept him out of that photo and in its mind games. I don't think that'll be the case. Doesn't feel like that's Nuno's style. And for Everton at home, I don't think we wouldn't do that. Maybe for the FA Cup semi-final, we might see some of that, but not for this game. I don't see it. I think Elanga would be important. I think that when we look at the 2 teams and we look at the differences in quality between the 2 teams, I think we're looking at a very closely contested match. But I think ultimately we've got weapons on the pitch that they haven't got. We've got players who can produce goals out of nothing in Hudson-Odoi and Elanga and Gibbs-White. And they don't really possess those individuals. Ndaya maybe. McNeil's back from injury. I don't expect him to start. So they don't have individuals I look at and think they worry me, whereas they'll be looking at Elanga, Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs-White in particular, and be concerned that they can pull a goal out of nothing. So having Elanga on the pitch as one of those three, I think is very important for us.
Yeah, I've done the opposition preview. It's out for members already with Ped from Toffee TV. He's really not that optimistic, actually. He thinks Everton, being away from home, they're a little bit on the beach. They're not allowed to be on the beach at Goodison because of the end of the era there. He spoke about a lack of pace in their team. Mikey doesn't feel the wingers are quick enough to hurt us. They've got Beto, who's physical. How do you view Everton as an opponent now? We've seen quite a lot of them, obviously, against us and this season now.
They're very well drilled. Somebody, Michael, in the chat has just put around Everton's half-decent defensive stats, and that's where my head's at. I think it'll be a really tough game, regardless of their lack of so-called pace and attack. Beto, like I said the other week, is a transformed player, and he offers them that outlet. So I suspect the game will be very similar to the one that they played against Arsenal, where they're sort of sitting deep and then springing forward very, very quickly and feeding off Beto. Which might be quite interesting because we're not necessarily used to seeing Forest so much on the front foot at home, are we? We tend to be the ones to concede possession, wait for that chance and then spring. But I've got a funny feeling that it might be flipped on Saturday, regardless of our injury concerns. I think they'll sit deep. I think they'll have Decore probably in behind Beto. They'll play Jack Harrison and one of another on the wings. And they'll defend quite deep. And they have got a good defensive back line. I like Braithwaite. I think he's a really good player. The fullbacks are half decent, and they've got their England goalkeeper in net. So they're going to be a tough nut to crack, make no bones about it. And set pieces, they're very, very strong. The pessimist in me was thinking back to, I think it was the game last season. Did we lose 1-0 at home to them last season?
Yeah, McNeil scored, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really hoping it's not another one of them, because that is their template, isn't it? Go away, find the goal and just sit in. So first goal, I think, is going to be crucial. And I think we've got the first goal, 23, 24 times this season, more than any other team. So I think if we can go in the lead, I think we'll turn them over, because they'll have to come out eventually, and that not necessarily suit them. But the longer it stays 0-0, the longer it stays tight, should be a really interesting game. They'll compete. They're scrapping. Moyes has got them drilled. But then every challenge we've had at home, we've overcome. Last few games, we've played both Manchester clubs at home, beat both of them. Before that, we stuck 7 past Brighton. We got a draw against Arsenal. We're bloody hard to beat at home. So I can't see us losing the game. But for me, it's all about, can we break them down? And again, it's do we have those weapons to start the game? I guess we'll find out. But no, I don't think we'll lose. I'm not saying we'll win, but I don't think we'll lose.
Yeah, I do agree. I think the first goal's even more important in this one. If we get it, I feel like maybe we can just grind Everton down a little bit and they might just take the defeat, but we shall see. I'll throw this question at Mark quickly, and there's another question I'll come to later, just because James asked it, Mark. Should we look at a first-team free agent as a potential fix for our striker issue? If, say, they don't, Nuno will know really how bad it is. Has that ship sailed for signing a free agent because they're so far from up to speed, or would you risk it?
Depends who's around it. It has to be a free agent who knows the Premier League, who we know, who could slot straight in, because there's no time, is there? We've got 7 games left, so I think it's we haven't got the time scale now to bring somebody in. And yeah, I don't know who's available as a free agent. I don't know if there's former Premier League strikers who could come in and hit the ground running, but I doubt it very much. Or they'd be snapped up if they were any good. So no, I don't see that. I think we've got to get through this with Jota. If Wood and Awoniyi are out for the season, I'd like to hope that Wood isn't. Judging by what Nuno said today, unless he's really, pulling a fast one, then Wood is being assessed every day, like he says, and he could just be back in the team like that. I don't think it'll happen this weekend, but I like to think that he could be available for the semi-final and probably our last few games. So, no, I don't see us going into the free agent market.
No, that's totally my thinking. I think it's a bit of a non-starter, really. We've got Jota, we've got Elanga. We could play a false nine. I do all those things before signing a free agent, personally. Right, let's look at some stats then that back up what we're seeing. One of the benefits of having Mark on is I can rinse him for stuff like this. This is, let's start with defence, actually. Team defence for the last 6 matches. Talk us through it, Mark. Does it anything spring out there around Everton or Forest?
Yeah, I mean, the big chances per 90 conceded, Everton the best in the league, 1.17. So really, really strong over the last 6 for just the quality of chance that they've conceded. XG 1.13, so that's also low. It's 6th best. We've taken a bit of a hammering from our fixtures have been quite tough. So have theirs though. So our XGC, expected goals conceded, is worse than theirs. So over the last 6 they've been stronger defensively. What I will say, I mean, you put up a comment. They have not kept a clean sheet in their last 6 league games, Everton, and they've only kept 2 clean sheets in 12 since Moyes took over. So yes, they are stronger defensively. They don't give much away, but they're not keeping clean sheets. They are conceding at least 1 goal in 10 of the 12 games that Moyes has been in charge in the Premier League. So on that basis, I expect us to score a goal. I think a single goal might decide this match. I don't think that Everton are going to give us too much, but I think a moment of brilliance from one of the players we mentioned could be enough, or maybe a set piece. It's interesting that I had a look at the data since Moyes came in, and in terms of expected goals conceded from set plays, Everton are the worst since Moyes came in. So they are conceding chances from set plays, which is another reason why I think we will go 3 at the back. So I actually think that they could be vulnerable there. That's what the data says. So while they carry a threat, they also their concentration at set plays perhaps hasn't been the best since Moyes came in, and that could be a weakness we can expose. So I think the odd goal will decide this game, and it probably go 1-0 either way.
I put team data attack up there as well. I'll go back to defence. I didn't say where we were for those who are listening or watching. We're 16th last 6 games. XG per 90 1.51. I'm sure that's the lowest we've been in the table all season, but as you can see at the end there, last 6 have been very tough for us. So I'm not reading a huge amount into that. Everton, by the way, are 7th, as Mark said. Team data attack, last 6, we're 15th. Everton are 13th. I guess anything you want to pick out from there, Mark, at all, or is it just
not really? I mean, we're 2 of the worst teams in terms of chances per 90, and Everton 9.67 shots per 90 over the last 6. Only West Ham, Southampton, Leicester worse than that. So it's saying they're not creating a lot of chances. We're not overly creating chances either. What we are doing though is we're outperforming our XG considerably. So we've been relying on players to pull out a goal, a worldie basically, and they've done that. Look at Elanga's goal in the United game. So we've relied a lot on players like Chris Wood, Elanga, Callum Hudson-Odoi. So I've got him on my brain because you mentioned him the other day. Pulling these goals out of the hat really, and us outperforming our XG, which has been the story of the season. Chris Wood's been probably the best in the Premier League for that, I think. So it's hard to read too much into the data in terms of our attack, because we've been outperforming that. But I think this shows that it's not going to be a game of many chances.
I guess, Mikey, it backs up what you were saying, the importance of the first goal, I think, doesn't it?
Oh, this backs up what I was thinking, doesn't it? If you look at this, it's going to be really, really tight. Lee gave me a pep talk in the comments saying we're going to win. Yes, I do. I just think it's going to be tight. And Big On says it's going to be an ugly 1-0 win. There is nothing ugly about a 1-0 win. It's my favourite scoreline in football. And looking at that Mark's just talked through, honestly, it all points to a very tight game, doesn't it? First goal maybe wins it. But like I said, I love a 1-0 win. And who cares if it's 5 o'clock and, Forest all over the world, everybody's singing it because we've won 1-0. Couldn't care less, but it's going to be a tough one.
We shall go to our lineups then, just after a word for the Trent navigation. A rare game that isn't on TV of late. Obviously, the next one against Spurs is as well, so you can enjoy that at the nav. If you are at the ground, though, after the game or before the game, we've got Father's Quiz before the match. Post-match, there's a post-match show with Thanks Tara. Just a band from the 80s, as it says there. Entry is free. You can get your dinner there as well to hopefully celebrate a win. So enjoy that, and thanks to Nav, as ever, for their support. Right, let's go to lineups then. We'll start with yours, Mark, because you gave a bit of a spoiler there that you're pretty adamant, or for you it would be 3 at the back. Anyway, so I'll read this out and then Mark can talk us through it. Excuse me. So Mark has got Sells in goal, Morato, Milenkovic, Murillo again, Williams, Yates, Anderson, Alex Moreno returning to the team, obviously, Gibbs-White in behind, Hudson-Odoi and Elanga. So talk us through your thinking there.
Yeah, I just think one of the routes to goal for Everton will be set pieces. I think from open play we can deal with them. I think with O'Brien, Tarkowski and Branthwaite, they've, along with Beto and Decore, they've got three big aerial threats at the back, and then Decore and Beto as well. We haven't got Chris Wood, so we lose his defensive ability at set pieces. So I think having Morato in there, or maybe Bolly, will help us. I think that'll nullify one of the major routes to goal that Everton have got. And then I think it's, while people will look at that and go, we should be more attacking, more front foot, I think if we have Gibbs-White and Hudson-Odoi and Elanga on the pitch, then the hope is that one of those can produce a bit of magic to unlock the Everton defence, which will be stubborn, but I think pace could be key. Their centre-backs, if we had Chris Wood playing, yes, obviously would be better off, but to be fair, their centre-backs are very dominant in the air, very good in duels. And, Chris Wood hasn't, I've seen him play against that Branthwaite and Tarkowski before, and it's a real battle for him. He did well in the away game, of course. But I think it was movement that really did them for the goal that Chris Wood scored with Elanga. And I think movement is what we'll get with Hudson-Odoi and Elanga. I think those two will double up. They'll create, double ups on either flank. Elanga seems to have the license to wander around. And I think that's what we'll do, and look to play balls between the lines and Gibbs-White to slot in the pace of Hudson-Odoi and Elanga. That will be the route to beating them. I think maybe having Chris Wood up top plays into their hands a bit. They're very good at those long balls, aerial balls, and winning that, and playing against an old-fashioned centre forward. It's movement that they'll struggle with. So I think this has got enough in attack to win this game, and enough to nullify their set-piece threat.
If, say, Elanga's out, is that a straight swap for Jota, or do you tear things up and do something totally different?
I think it is a straight swap for Jota, because I just like to have the security of the 3 at the back. I think that Nuno sees Moreno more as a wing-back than a full-back. I think that left-hand side for us could be key. I had a look again at the data since Moyes took over, and Everton have conceded 39 chances down their right side compared to 27 on their left. So they're weaker down that side. They've been weaker down that side all season. O'Brien's come in. He can play full-back, but he can play centre-back. I'd back Moreno and Hudson-Odoi to cause O'Brien problems if they can create the double up down there, and Elanga could even drift out there, like I said, as well. So I think we can outnumber them down that left flank, their right side, and that could be key. So I think playing the wing backs could be a benefit to us. And I think I just get the inkling Nuno prefers Moreno with a back 3 as a wing back.
The only other query I had about that team was the shape of the back 3. Morato had a bit of a stinker at Villa Park playing on the right. Are you all right playing him on the right again because Nico's there, or would you swap him over for Milenkovic or something? Yeah,
I mean, I'm fine if they want to swap that over. Milenkovic can play out there, and Ndiaye on that side will be the threat for them, I think. Harrison's their most creative player and has been since Moyes came in, but Ndiaye's got that little bit of magic that Williams will need to deal with. I'm okay with Morato that side if Williams is there. I think it was more difficult for him with Dominguez as the makeshift right wing back. I think with Williams there, it's a bit more secure. But yeah, you could move Morato. You can move any of the back 3 and change that around. I mean, Murillo in a back 3, I want Murillo to be coming out of that into midfield, and playing balls into the half spaces. That's what he can do really well. So I'm hoping as well, if we do play a back 3, that we get Murillo out of that 3 and into midfield areas where he can hurt them with his passing, because we know he can. He plays a lot of forward-thinking passes between the lines, and that's what we need if we're going to play a back 3. So I'm hoping that a lot of the game it's Milenkovic, Morato, with Murillo pushing into the midfield areas and allowing Anderson and Yates to get forward as well. If we play a back 4, I think it'll be Dominguez over Yates and Jota down the middle with the 2 wingers in the 4-3-3. But I just think Nuno will see. I mean, I looked again at our data. Again, since Moyes came in, we've conceded 36 headed chances. That's the worst in the Premier League. So if Nuno's been aware of that, that we're conceding a lot of headed chances, more than any other team since Moyes came in game week 21, and you're playing Everton, you try and stop that, don't you? Headed chances are a concern against Everton. So let's play 3 centre-backs, get a bit more aerial power in there. So I think he will do that, but we'll see.
Okay, that's Mark's team. I feel like he's won me over there to that team, hearing all that evidence backing up the other team going against the team that we have from Mikey. And I put my name to it as well, but Mark has made some very persuasive cases there. Let's see if Mikey can make a more persuasive one. His team is Sells in goal, Williams, Milenkovic, Murillo, Moreno, Yates and Anderson sitting in midfield, Elanga, which would become Sosa if Elanga's out, Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi, and Jota in attack. Talk us through your thinking there, Mikey.
Yeah, firstly, that's a very compelling argument with stats to back it up from Mark. I wouldn't be adverse to seeing that, especially with Elanga and Hudson-Odoi sort of roaming if we don't have a striker. However, I'd start this way. So back four, there's a couple of reasons for that. So firstly, I think, like I said before, I think we're going to be on the front foot more this game. And I think we will be pushed up. And having watched Everton the last couple of games, they do sit deep. And I'm a bit old school, and I think it's on us to be, as the home team, to go and push. And the last couple of times we've played a back three, I haven't been that enamoured with it at Forest, to be honest with you. Ola Aina is obviously a huge miss. So I just think we just need to be on the front foot. They've got better up front on his own than they have. And Harrison, Decore sort of floating in behind them. Murillo and Milenkovic can handle better, I think. So you don't necessarily need a 3 there. You just need a 2, which allows you to play, I think, that extra forward. The reason I've chosen Yates over Dominguez is for that. Decore is a bit of a beast. They've got Dressage in midfield as well, and you probably need that niggly element that Yates brings to the game in there. So I'd have him with Anderson, and then that front 4 will cause them problems. So if Elanga's fit, Elanga, Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi, and Jota had a fantastic, I thought, cameo at Villa, and probably deserves to start if we don't have a Wood or a Taiwo. And I think that gives them a lot to think about. It will pin their fullbacks back, and it will also allow us to keep, wave and wave of pressing, so that the game really does favour us and it's not sporadic sort of back and forth basketball match. I can see us having 60-65% possession, if I'm being honest, which is a really weird thing to say with Forest. And I just think setting up this way, starting this way, gives a more positive feel. It pins their fullbacks back. It allows us to hopefully have more possession in their half, maybe take the lead. And then what you do is you manage game state, and you maybe go to what Mark was saying, you go to a 3. They might become more adventurous, stick a Calvert-Lewin on if he's fit, and then you manage that game that way. I just think in my head, I like seeing us end the game with a back 3, protecting something. Having gone with a 4, we're at home, it's a sunny day, we're going to win this football game, being absolutely positive that that's what we're going to do and pinning them back and then go into a 3. I just think if we start with a 3, it causes me more questions in my head than it maybe resolves. And I absolutely understand what Mark was saying about their threats. But I just think they're going to think, Nottingham Forest third, they're going to come at us. And Everton haven't got a great record, as we've seen by those stats that Mark was going through. So let's just be positive. Let's go with the 4. That back 4 is good. It's really good. I know we're missing Ola, but Alex Moreno can do a fantastic job. You got arguably the best centre-back pairing in the country now that Gabriel's injured for Arsenal. That'll be enough to deal with Beto. Let's get that extra striker on. Let's take the lead and manage it from there. That's my view.
Yeah. The only worry with that team is just aerially. I think you've got 4 good headers of the ball. I'd throw Gibbs-White in there with Yates and Murillo and Milenkovic. Jota's good in the air as well, actually. I see he can maybe do a job set pieces. I'll throw it back to Mark then. 2 questions. Has Mikey persuaded you, firstly? And secondly, what level of expectation do you have as Jota as a striker?
I think if Aina's fit, we play a 4. I think the key to the formation will be how Nuno sees Moreno. Does he see him as a full-back, as a left-back? He has done, but I sense that we will go for 3 because he feels he needs to play wing-backs. I much prefer 4 at the back, of course, because I do think that's where we played our best football. But I do look at this team and think every time Everton win a corner, we're going to be worried. That's the only concern. Whereas I think Mateta just gives us that little bit of extra security there. Maybe Everton won't win corners. Maybe we shouldn't think defensively like that. But I just think keep it tight for 60 minutes, and then we can move to this team if we're struggling to get that and break them down. I think over the course of 90 minutes, we will see both these formations. It'll either be we start with 3 at the back and have to move to this because we haven't scored and it's 0-0 with 30 minutes to go, or we have scored and we started with 4 at the back and we go to 3 at the back to shore it up. So I think we'll see that flexibility from Nuno because that's what we're used to seeing recently. And I think with the injuries, we've seen him have to be more flexible. So it's really not easy for once to predict what Nuno will do. And I think Moreno is key. As for Jota, I think, I had a look. Last 6 matches, he's had limited minutes, but in terms of shots per minute, he's been right up there, like 25 minutes per shot, really high numbers. So he's definitely a player you can put on and he'll create and make and take chances. So whether he can do that from the start, I mean, I haven't been that enamoured by him when he started matches. I think he's been more effective off the bench, which I think that's the role he'll play. But it much depends on whether Elanga's fit or not, of course, because he might have to play if Elanga's out.
Yeah.
Can I just add to that, Matt, really quick? Another good point, Mark. The way I see it is, if we win 3 of our 4 home games, we're in the Champions League. Simple as that. So I don't want to look back in 6 weeks' time and think, if only we would have got that extra striker on the pitch. If only we would have, gone for it and tried to be a little bit more positive with our team selection against some of these teams. We can beat Everton. We've got far more weapons and far more things for them to worry about than we should be worried about them. So I think you're right, Mark. I think we are going to see maybe 3 or 4 formations during the game based on what happens. I'd just like for us to start with a 4 and say, you guys handle Beto. You'll handle Beto. They'll just lump it up to him, which they have been doing. Let's try and get the lead. Let's be positive. Let's try and get a 1 or 2 goal lead and manage it from there. I think if everybody's fit, if Aina's fit, if Chris Wood's fit, Elanga's fit, I think we play a 4, don't we? I think we've all agreed on that. Yeah.
I think the other key, though, is the second half at Villa. We didn't change the formation at Villa. We still stayed with 3 at the back, but we changed the mindset. And we saw Murillo in particular pushing into midfield. And that's what I'm advocating. I'm not advocating the first half of Villa where we played 3 at the back. We're very rigid and we got caught on the right-hand side. I'm advocating playing 3 at the back, being aggressive, being front foot with that. And we showed we did that at Villa and we created 13, 14 chances in the second half. So if Nuno took from that 3 at the back can work and can create lots of chances, then I think that's what he'll carry into this game. And it'll be a front foot 3 at the back. But I may get that wrong. And really, it's Moreno that's the key, I think. It depends how sound he thinks he is defensively, if Harrison's going to be a threat that side, and whether playing him as a wing-back will give us the best option to get at their right-hand side and allow Hudson-Odoi to wander. So there's so many variables in it. And because of the injuries, we're kind of speculating, aren't we? We haven't got too much to go on.
One more question for you, Mark. Sorry, if I can take another. Morato didn't have his best game against Villa. I think we all agree on that. I thought Bolly, when he came on for 20 minutes, looked solid and sort of settled us down a little bit. If you're going with a 3 then, Mark, is there any conversation to be had about those 2 players, or is it just Morato gets the nod?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, Matt was saying, is Morato, I worry if Morato is going to be that right side if Ndiaye gets past Williams and you get Morato against Ndiaye. So Milenkovic is probably better on the right side, play Morato centrally maybe, or Murillo centrally. I don't know how he can rotate those 3. I mean, we've heard that Morato played left back for Benfica at times, so you think he'd be more keen to play the left hand side, but he didn't do that at Villa Park. So that puzzle, Nuno knows better than any of us about how that can work out. Ollie, though, I don't know if he's got a start in him anymore. He's obviously been very good the last couple of this season and last for coming off the bench and plugging gaps. Is he a starter? I love Bolly, by the way. I mean, I think he's been a great servant to us. So I wouldn't be at all worried if he starts ahead of Morato, and maybe that second half performance it warrants that.
I'm still all right playing Morato. He had a very bad game, and I was very annoyed at him on Saturday. But I think I look over the course of the season, he's been all right, and I'm all right with Moreno playing left back. Obviously he was great against Liverpool. He had a few rocky games for a while, but I think Harrison's not the quickest. I think he can deal with Harrison. So
yeah.
that's my thinking. Let's move away. Still sticking with this game, but also looking at the other fixtures this week as well. I'll put the European Dream Tracker that plays against that. Thanks to Danscape as ever for updating this. You can see we're still on track for Champions League football. The interesting bit is the points target in the bottom right corner. Going on historical data, Dan thinks we need 9 more points. So 3 wins, the 3 home games that Mikey mentions, obviously the one for that. And then Chelsea, Newcastle, Man City all need about 13, 14 points. And then Villa, he's still got slightly out of it. So that's the state of play. We're in a strong position still. Let's look at the run-in. These are the fixtures. I put a pretty shoddy graphic up on Monday, but this is a much better one. So I've got to thank a listener, John Paul Pizzolo, who's a graphic designer who's done this for me. And he's put the individual ones in different graphics as well. They're on Instagram if you want to look at them and see how many points you can get. Anyway, nice graphic. Thank you very much for that. So these are the fixtures this weekend. Obviously, we've got Everton, we've discussed. Chelsea have got Ipswich at home. Villa have got Southampton away, so we can probably almost certainly expect them to win. Big week for Newcastle and big week for Crystal Palace in turn as well. Newcastle at home to United, then on Wednesday they play Palace at home. So 2 pivotal home games for them, and then they play Villa. City have got Palace at home on Saturday as well. Fulham are on the graphics, they've got a big role to play, but less so this week. They play Bournemouth. So how are you feeling, Mikey, about this weekend? Does it put extra emphasis on it for you? We've said this is a big game. When you look at those other fixtures, any points Newcastle drop is great, but I'm probably expecting maybe City to struggle as well. But a few of these teams are going to win. Does that put extra pressure on us or not?
No, I don't think so. I think we just have to focus on ourselves. I think I'm looking at the running for these 6 teams. My feeling is that Man City have the best running, and second best is ours. And you got to think as well. We've already got that points cushion. You look at some of the other teams, Chelsea, Villa, Newcastle. It's really tough games, and half of them are playing each other, and they can't both win. Last time I checked the rules, so that's why I'm saying I think we only really need to win 3 of our home games, and I think we're pretty much there or thereabouts. If things don't go right against Everton this weekend, there's still time to put it right. You know, it's all about accumulation of points. We don't live or die by one game anymore, like we kind of used to, didn't we, in the first 2 seasons, because each game was absolutely pivotal and every point was precious. We're in a situation now where none of us could have imagined it. I mean, even Greg Mitchell, the eternal optimist. I mean, honestly, ever be with him, he's not telling me that we're going to be in the Champions League this time sort of 6 months ago. No chance. So whatever happens this season, it's been a remarkable season. We will get Europe. It's just which European competition. And like I said again, if you look at these fixtures, other than Man City, I think we've got the best running, and it starts on Saturday. So a point wouldn't be a bad point because, it's all about accumulation. But there's no way we're not going to win 2 or 3 of them games at least. So I am optimistic that whatever happens, we're going to get there. And it's good because you have to try and take the emotion out, don't you? You look at the table, you think, oh God, we lost last week to Villa. Oh, Newcastle, look, they've got the 2 games in hand, they won again. You're thinking, oh, we're going to be caught. But then you look at this and you're thinking, no, because they have to play each other and they can't both win. You know, and there's people fighting on different fronts. Villa have got Champions League and the FA Cup. You know, Chelsea are trying to push. Man City have got the FA Cup as well. So it's going to be a crazy end to the season. And I'm going to stick by the prediction that I made at the last show, which is we will secure Champions League football before it gets to that last game. That last game won't have anything on it for us. That's where my head's still at.
James here saying we'll get 70 points. Steve thinks we can get to 70. That will be 13 more points than what we've got. Christian asks how many more points do you think we'll need? Mikey said 3 wins.
Yeah.
What about you, Mark? Anything you want to add to what Mikey said and your own thoughts on that graphic and whatever? Well,
yeah, I mean, I agree with Mike. I think 3 wins will probably do it, maybe 10 points. I don't really want to go into the Chelsea. I want that to be a dead rubber. I don't want to have to care about the final day for once, and that to be a party, because that'd be great. I think we can do that. I look at the next 3 and think, I mean, we're playing teams all the way through until we get to Chelsea, who have nothing to play for, right? Yep. So none of those teams including Everton this week, have anything other than pride and the 3 points to play for. Perhaps, if people say every position is, 3 or 4 million in prize money for the Premier League. Yes, it is, but I don't think that's motivation enough. It's not like, they're fending off relegation. You know how motivating that can be because we've been through that. It's not like they're pushing for European places like we are. So none of those teams are in that position. So our desire, the fact that we want it more than the opponent, should be a factor. And all season, our desire on the pitch, our hunger of players coming off the bench, our willingness to win, our ability to manage our games has been one of our key strengths. I expect us, looking at all those teams that we're playing, to be stronger in that department, even than Everton, who are a very committed team. But I think they turn up Saturday. And when it comes to leaving anything on the pitch, I hope that we're the team that leave nothing on the pitch. We give everything because we're fighting for that, that right to be in the Champions League next season. Everton are a very committed side, and under Moyes in particular, but I still think we should have that edge in that respect. And I look at all those teams that we play, and I expect us to have the edge in that respect against all those teams. Spurs, we can go and get something. Brentford at home, it will be another battle. It'll be a side under Thomas Frank always gives 100%. But again, I think we should have the edge there. We've got everything to play for. It's in our hands. And I think we've got the commitment and energy plus the talent to win the next 3. I think we could possibly seal it in the next 3 games if we can go to Spurs and win, and then have Brentford back at our place. If they're the 3 points we need to seal it, that would be a fantastic scenario. Maybe that's optimistic, but I do look at the next 3 and think, yeah, I think we can get 9 points out of those 3 if we go into it with a positive attitude. And Elanga's going to be key, because I think at the moment he's nearing unplayable, and his confidence is so high. And you look at him when we go to Spurs, he could be a real key player. So I think getting him back on the pitch, if that means he misses Everton, so be it. But I think having him on the pitch against Spurs is key. And then Brentford back at our place, it's always tough. But, if that's the 3 points we need to seal it, then that motivation could be enough.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that about Elanga. I think or bench Elanga and just using break glass in case of emergency, that kind of thing. Give us 20 minutes. But yeah, that's a good point. I think that's fair. We'll move on to some transfer chat then before we wrap things up. But just before that, word of thanks for Home Move Estate Agents and Ben Sales. Good to see him at the live show the other week. That was great. If you're looking to move or buy, if you're looking to buy, you're moving, as you're buying 2 houses, give Ben a shout. Ben at homemoveea.co.uk. Link is in the description for all the properties they've got on offer. And of course, they are 5-star rated on Google. So they are the people for you. Right, let's do a bit of transfer chat then. Myself and Paul did a bit on Gibbs-White to Man City chat. I thought we'd ask these chaps about it briefly as well, what they think about it. If you missed the story, David Ornstein in The Athletic saying that Gibbs-White and Florian Wirtz are on a short list, which means there's obviously more names, to replace Kevin De Bruyne when he leaves at the end of the season. I'll just ask each chaps what they make of it briefly. Mikey, kick us off. What do you make of this transfer rumour?
Why would Gibbs-White want to play in the Championship when they get relegated as well? No, seriously, it's a hard one, isn't it? Because if you would have asked me a few months ago or even at the start of the season, it's almost like we must be doing something right if our key players are being linked with, mega Manchester City, mega money Man City, who won the European Cup a few seasons ago. But the way this season has transpired, you've got one club on the up, punching above its weight, whatever you want to call it, exceeding expectations. And Gibbs-White is the heartbeat of that football team. He is, when Yates is not playing, he's the captain. Everything goes through him. The team's been built around him. He's loved and adored by every single one of us. He seems very settled with his family. He's got, his kid. I think there's another on the way. He's happy. He's playing with a smile on his face. He's breaking into the England team, but he should be anyway. His curve is up, 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 up. So I'm not surprised that teams are looking at him, including Man City. But I think there is a scenario, a very realistic scenario, that we could be in the Champions League and they won't be. So he's not going to leave, is he? I think if you're going to ask me, give me a £5 to bet on, I think we'd probably say to him, give us one more season in the Champions League, stay with us, and then we'll see, if we'll see who comes calling then. But I just think, let's not worry about it. This is a testament to what we're doing as a football club. It's a testament to the brilliant recruitment that we've had in recent years, the fact that we are more than the sum of its parts, and that Gibbs-White is a shining light for this team. And I never try and worry when our players are being linked with so-called bigger clubs, because it shows that we're doing something right. That Wirtz is a good player, by the way. They should go for him. They can have him instead. He's a really good player. But no, I think it's just one of them things. We're just going to have to live with it. On the other podcast that you did with Fletch, I think he said, didn't he, that if we do sell a big transfer, it does open doors for us to buy a few players to sort of supplement the team. I agree with that, but I just hope it's not Gibbs-White, because this team's built around him and he's loved. So I don't think he'll go anywhere in the summer, because I think we'll qualify for the Champions League, and they might scrape him, but we don't know. But nothing to worry about. I think it's just a testament to how great he's been.
I think I've been thinking about it a bit when I was writing the notes for this. I think if both clubs are in the Champions League and Man City come calling, if I'm being, dispassionate, I think 99% of players make the move if a deal's accepted. As soon as an offer's accepted, players go anyway. So yeah, if City are in the Champions League and they make a bid, then I would be very worried. I think Wirtz is a top player though, so we'll wait and see how that goes. Mark, any thoughts from you before we move on?
I think I'd like to hope that Morgan wouldn't see City as a good move for him. Maybe he would financially, maybe he would status, but you've only got to look at Jack Grealish, right? Look at that as an example of a player, very similar scenario. Grealish was the catalyst and the key player, key creative force for Aston Villa, and he was a player at the time who I was screaming for Southgate to get in the 11 for England. Then he moved to City, and Pep's approach is very system-led. You've got a role, you stick to it. That's the role you play. And Grealish had his creativity sucked out of him by a Pep system. Grealish's role in Pep's system is to draw defenders to him, create space for others. He lost that individualism. He lost that ability to create, 10, 15 assists and score 10 goals a season like he was for Villa. He was fantastic for Villa, and we went to City and he became a different player. He became a player that fitted into their system. And I think if Gibbs-White looks at that, what he's enjoying under Nuno is a degree of freedom, and he is the key man. Yes, we do have a system and a way of playing, but it's one that gives Morgan the chance to be influential and creative. If he went to City and he slotted, if he was one piece in Pep's machine, he would lose some of that. He would have to play a role and play a function. And I don't think that would benefit him in terms of his England ambitions, because look at Grealish now. He's on the outskirts of the squad. I don't think he's a name that's in conversation when the squad comes around anymore. And it's a struggle for him to get back to that level, while he's under Pep at City. So does Morgan want that? I'm not saying it'll happen, but it's a pretty good example of what's happened to a player of that level recently, because you have to fit into the way Pep wants to play. And hopefully Morgan sees that as not the move for him.
Yeah, it depends how you look at it, doesn't it? I mean, Grealish, looking there, he's won 3 Premier Leagues, a Champions League and an FA Cup with Manchester City. So he might look at that and say, he might just hold up his medals to people who have that argument that a lot of us do. And then looking at his appearance record, it's the last 2 seasons he hasn't played as much. He did play. He was involved in 28 Premier League games, 26 the first season. So if Gibbs-White goes there, he's not going to play every game. So you can make the cases for and against, certainly. We'll move on, because it was just a rumour and there's nothing concrete in it. But I wanted to get the thoughts of what everyone else was saying. A bit of other transfer chat then as well. Liam Delap, thoughts of fate. I've just seen a tweet now saying he wants to join the club in Europe. Fabrizio Romano tweeting his release clause is 30 million, which is even better than the 40 million, obviously. I'll come to Mark on it first, because you're more up on the status of Man City in it. Have they got a buyback clause then?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've read a lot about. They've got a buyback at 30 million, so they get first refusal. A lot of talk is they wouldn't take him up on that anyway. I don't know. I mean, young English players are at a premium, aren't they? So they may feel that they want that depth, but it wouldn't be a good move for Delap, because it'd be a similar situation where he'd have to play a role in that City team, and if you look at the way Haaland plays, he plays in a particular way. He gets what, 5 or 6 touches a game sometimes. So, obviously he can score goals, and yes, you'll win trophies, but it depends what you want, right? So Delap would have to change his game somewhat, I think, if he went to sit, and he wouldn't get as many minutes. There's no way. So it depends. If his next step is a club where he is the central figure up top and he wants to break into that England squad, similar to my point on Morgan, if he wants to be prominent and get into that England squad, then the right move for Delap is not to go back to Man City, but to find a club perhaps like Forest where he's going to be the central striker and be relied upon week in, week out.
I'll throw that to Mikey, but I'm going to throw an extra name in, which I'll come back to Mark on as well, that we haven't discussed, that we were linked with. It was by Team Talk, and it was very prolific, but a player who's going to be linked with everyone and could fit into our bracket is Jean-Philippe Mateta, linked with a lot of clubs. He has only got 1 year left in his contract after this, so his market value is probably as low as it's going to be without getting on a free. I think it's touted about 40 million. 13 goals, 2 assists in 29 games this season, but 9 of those goals have been in his last 11 games after a slow start to the season following playing in the Olympics and a bit of injury problems. He'll be 28 in June, is the other context around him, so he's kind of peak age and dwindling resale value. What's your thoughts on just the Delap, Mateta strikers, Mikey? It's going to be the ongoing discussion. Probably Mateta mostly. What are you thinking?
I'm going to be really greedy. I'd love them both, and let me context that. I think Taiwo will leave in some capacity, whether it be on loan or as a permanent transfer. And Chris Wood is, what is he, 30, 34? He's had an incredible season, but is it fair to ask that again? And you've got no backup essentially. So arguably, you're going to play at least 8 more games next season if you're in a European competition. You're going to need another couple of strikers, and these two they're very different profiles, but both experienced in the league. Mateta I've always liked. Remember him coming down here, Palace, when we drew 1-1. I think he scored their goal. He's a beast of a player. He's the focal point and would suit the way we play. And like I said, knows the league, knows how to function in it, scores goals. A year left of his contract. You'd like to think that something could be done there if he fancies it. Liam Delap is the one for me. I think he's got everything, that lad. He's 21? I was surprised he wasn't called up for the England squad. I rate him that highly. He's scoring goals for a team that's really struggled this season. He is a beast of a player. He's very raw around the edges, but the model that we've been employing at Forest recently is get them in while they're quite young, develop, and then look to sell for big money. There is nobody that we can do it better than him, honestly. If he's got £30 million release clause, and if we can guarantee him European football, especially Champions League, and he knows that he's going to be probably the main man, if not up there with Chris Wood, and then eventually taking over on a long-term deal, by the time he gets to 24, 25, he'll be looking for that other big move and we can gain money on him. It's almost like a no-brainer. He's perfect for the way we play. Absolutely perfect. Brilliant with his back to goal. Runs the channels, runs in behind, team player, works his backside off. He spent a few seasons in the Championship. I saw him. Never thought he had this in him, to be honest, but people develop at different rates, don't they? He looks the business to me. And I just think if there's even a chance of us getting that deal done, then it's something we need to look at. But I like both of those strikers. I think there's very little risk in either of those deals.
Derek says... Derek's always wanted Tammy Abraham. He scored a good goal at the weekend, actually, but he also says that would be a massive underachievement. We should be aiming higher. What do you think about that? And then give us your thoughts on Mateta, Mark, before we start to wrap things up.
Yeah, I think the age is crucial, isn't it? I think that, Mikey said is right, and we talked about it with Fletcher as well. And the model is that we want to sign players who have got resale value. And I think that would rule out Mateta. Interestingly, we were looking at Wissa, who's in that bracket as well, 27, 28, I think. The only appeal with Wissa is he can play across the front three, can't he? So he can give us multiple positions. He can play down the middle or play out on the left. Mateta, not so much. He's that central striker. I prefer Delap as well because he's a player who's really hungry, wants to break into that England side, and he's in that conversation already, England squad rather. And he could be our focal point in the way Chris Wood has been this season. And if anything, give us a little bit more. Perhaps he's nowhere near as proven as Chris Wood, and you can't expect him to come in and get 18 to 20 goals like Chris Wood is targeting, but he could do what he's done for Ipswich this season, and perhaps with a bit more service we can get that number up towards what Chris has done for us. But yeah, I think we're the perfect fit for him. It's just there'll be many clubs in the hat. Hopefully, though, we can put something on the table that is tempting, and Nuno's way of playing, and hopefully Champions League football would be a package that hopefully he'll look at. So I prefer Delap as well, but I do think we need another player like a Lookman, like a Kuno, who can give us that spark across the striker positions, not just down the middle, but someone who can start or come off the bench to win us a game out of nothing. We haven't really got that player yet. So I think we talked about it in that pod we're done with Fletch. We need the central striker, but we need that player with a little bit of an X factor as well. So they're the two attacking signings I think we need to target.
I like this point from James in the chat as well that I'll put. We're referencing Morgan Rogers and Cole Palmer, younger players getting an opportunity in a better team and really flourishing. That's a good point, and fully take that on board from James. Seb Hutchinson was a big advocate for Delap as well, so check that out if you haven't seen that already. A really good chat with Seb. I've got lots of admin-y bits and plugs to do at the end, so I'll throw it to Mikey. Anything you want to add before we go, Mikey?
If this is any other business, I'm looking forward to the Forza boat trip on Saturday. I've never been on one, and I can't swim, so I'm going to take my rubber ring and my armbands just in case I start visiting. But I'm assured it's all safe and all good. But on a serious note, I'm predicting a 1-0 win on Saturday, a great day in the sunshine. Let's just go and get behind the lads because, like I said, 3 wins, I think, and we're there.
Very good. Mark, anything you want to add before we go?
No, just, good luck to Mikey on that. I was tempted as well, but I can't get there early enough, and I can't swim either, and I'm risk averse, so I'm not going to take that. I'm sure it's going to be a great trip. I think 1-0 as well, and I think I see the Everton game as the platform for the Brentford and Spurs games. I think that if we can win this one, if we can get Elanga fully fit for Spurs, then I think we could put ourselves in a scenario where we have to beat Brentford to put it out of sight and get the deal done. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to Saturday. I'm nervous about it, but I'm not too worried about the threat they pose. It's just, can we break them down? Can we find that moment of individualism to get the goal on? Perhaps it's going to be a scrappy one from a set piece, but I think 1 goal will be enough.
I put a thing on Twitter earlier asking how many points we'll get from the remaining games, and pretty much everyone had at least 7 points on the next 3. They do feel pretty pivotal, especially this one. You always play the narratives, but defeat would be cranking up the worries, certainly, although it wouldn't be terminal by a long shot, obviously, but a win, and it always changes the way we feel about everything. So, yeah, big game, definitely. Right, a few bits just to get through for the end. Dansgate's podcast Predictor League this week, and we're second. We got the high score, but we're
toppled. We were top when I last looked. Okay.
No, we dropped. We pegged back red side of the Trent a bit. I looked at what we predicted this week, and all 5 of us have got us down to beat Everton. So hopefully that comes true. Obviously, we are nominated, and I say we in the very loosest term because none of us had anything to do with this. We're nominated for a Radio Academy ARIA Award, and I'm told by Emily this is the Oscars of British radio. So that's fantastic, and it's all thanks to the listener Duncan Barber, who did the episode, you might recall, on match day at the City Ground, where he spoke to fans, including Greg, people who made the journey from Northern Ireland and stuff like that. It's really, really good, and I'll give it a big push on Friday, I think. So, yeah, if you haven't already done so, check that out. I think it's called Forest and Magic, and it's really good. So congratulations to Duncan, and we'll be on your coattails because I think a few of us are going to go to the awards in London in May. So looking forward to that one. A couple of charity plugs as well. If you've got any charity events that we head into the summer, let me know. This one is for Forever Stars. It's a reunion for the 1990 Wembley League Cup winners. So it's Laws, Parker, Chettle and Nigel Jempson. Friday the 2nd of May, 2025, Welbeck Hall in Bridgeford. I'll put the link in the description as well. They're a charity for people, families suffering from baby loss. So a very worthwhile cause that's worth checking out. And then the other one, a listener called Will Birchall, who is, I think he's the chief executive. He's a listener as well, a Forest fan. Bone Cancer Research Trust. He is walking 100 kilometres in May. Jurassic Coast Challenge, it's called. So if you've got any spare change, another worthy cause, I'll put the link in the description for Will. And Matt Ford's a patron of that charity as well, because I think it was the cancer he was suffering with. So a couple of worthwhile charity plugs there. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I think that's everything. Oh yeah, just a quick programming announcement as well, just to say that there is no post-match show for the Everton game, and it'll be a sort of a slightly limited schedule next week as well, because I'm not around so much. So yeah, appreciate people's patience with that. But we will be on Monday with Prutz, Emily, and I think Temps is hosting, which I'm sure he's very much looking forward to. So check that out. But I'll be lurking in the background clicking buttons here. But I won't see the Everton game, so I'm not gonna host that one if I can manage it, because I won't see enough of the match. Right, Mikey, thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. I forgot to say, I went to the Steve Hodge night at Ravenshead last week. Did you get a cut of the tickets, the amount of times you plugged this? I know. I should have done. What a lovely guy. Honestly, I've never met him before. Obviously a brilliant talker, some amazing stories. He was on stage at least 2.5, 3 hours. What a lovely bloke, though. Honestly, top guy. Really enjoyed that. I hope those who turned up did as well. So that was good. But thank you, Matt.
No, good to have you on board, Mark. It's been good to have you with us in the week, and like we said at the top,
Yeah,
we'll have you more with us in the week. But yeah, thank you very much.
I look forward to doing more. I've really enjoyed it. If you win that radio award, are you going to do like John Terry full kit and all that kind of thing?
I will do. Yeah, definitely. I'll be soaking in all the undeserved adulation, definitely. But no, well done, Duncan, again. Right, we shall be back tomorrow with opposition preview with Ped from Toffee TV. As mentioned, that's already out for members. So yeah, do consider membership. I feel like I should put up the video just appealing one last time. If you have enjoyed this, do us a favor, hit like, hit subscribe, do consider membership or Patreon. Like I say, you'll get early access to pre-recorded interviews, or just give us a lovely 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. Right, we'll be back tomorrow, like I say, but if we don't see you then, hopefully we shall see you soon.